7 months ago, I was sitting in my sukkah looking at some emails that I got, and I saw an email from Rabbi Bruce. I was kind of disappointed by the email, but also excited. The email was the Sikha, the much anticipated Sikha schedule for the year, and I saw that I only had 2 Sikha slots, which was disappointing to me. But then, when I went to put them in my calendar, because I'm a responsible person, I want to make sure I didn't forget, so I put them in my calendar, and I looked at the second Sikha would be today on HaER, and that excited me, because HaER is, of course, the anniversary today, this year, the 71-year anniversary of the Declaration of Independence of the State of Israel. Yesterday we celebrated because we didn't want HaAtzmaut to be on Erev Shabbat, but that's what today is. 71 years ago today, it was actually an Erev Shabbat then in 1948 as well. David Ben-Gurion stood in Tel Aviv and declared the new state of Israel. And that excited me because it gave me an opportunity to talk about a topic that I'm probably most passionate about. I want to ask you a question. What is Zionism and what is religious Zionism? What is it? It's not rhetorical, I don't want to hear it. Throw out an answer. What does it mean to be a Zionist? Zach?
We believe that the Jews should have a right to the land.
Jews should have a right to the land?
The Jews should be able to have their own sovereignty over their promised land.
Have control over their promised land. Great. When I ask this question, a lot of times I get, being Zionist means making aliyah, means loving Israel. Religious Zionist means making aliyah and being religious, or loving Israel and being religious. So, I'm going to read for you a quote from our school's website. I'm sure most of you know the website by heart. Dove's not here, right, but he probably actually does know this by heart. From our school's vision and values page. Dedication to Medinat Israel is at the core of our identity and inspires everything we do. This commitment has become the cornerstone of religious Zionism in Cleveland. It inspires everything we do. Wait a minute. If all religious Zionism means is aliyah, loving Israel, even believing that the Jews should have a sovereign right, or the right to sovereign control of their land, how does that inspire everything we do? We're in school for a lot of hours. I've even heard 1 or 2 students claim once or twice that they feel like we're in school maybe too long, too many hours. In all those hours, everything we do is inspired by religious Zionism. Everything we do. People are taking APs right now. How is that inspired by loving Israel? Math, science, and humanities are inspired. They're an expression of our commitment to religious Zionism. Even our Judaics classes. If it's all about aliyah, is that what our Judaics classes are? They're so aliyah-centric. We don't end Gemara class with, and the Teirutz is, everyone has to move to Israel. It's not what we say. Even in Jewish history and Tanakh, the classes that shape what it means to be a Jew in our philosophy, they're certainly not only focused on make aliyah. Okay, sometimes we talk about that, but definitely not all the time. So how is it inspiring everything that we do? Is the website being dishonest? Is it misleading? So, spoiler alert, it's not. I think it's not. But we do need to deepen our understanding of what it means that religious Zionism is at the core of who we are if we understand how it can inspire everything that we do. Of course, loving Medinat Israel is part of Zionism. And so is making aliyah. Right, of course. No one would deny that. But it's not the whole picture. It's not. Right? Those kinds of explanations of Zionism are missing fundamental pieces of what Zionism and religious Zionism really mean. After Theodore Herzl died, Rav Kook, around 100 years ago, gave a eulogy in Yerushalayim. And in the eulogy, he talks about, without mentioning by name, but he talks about the importance of people like Theodore Herzl. You have to understand that at the time, most religious Jews despised what Herzl was doing. Most religious Jews were not supportive of the movement of political Zionism. Because Herzl wasn't religious. And Herzl and those who he worked with did not believe that the Jewish state should be run according to the values of Torah and Israel. They believed that it should be a secular state. They believed, in essence, that the national statehood of the Jewish people would replace the traditional Torah Judaism. And for most religious Jews, that was horrible. Rav Kook took a different stance. In his eulogy, Rav Kook describes how for 2,000 years, the Jewish people did not function as a normal, healthy, productive nation. But that's really what we were always meant to be. When God gave us the Torah, He gave us the Torah as an Am, as a Goy Kadosh, a holy nation. Not just a bunch of different communities that would learn Torah and keep kosher and keep Shabbos, but to function as a nation. And Rav Kook talks about how for 2,000 years of exile, we maintained our identity, as we talk about in our Jewish history classes, we maintained our identity by clinging to our tradition. And that is who we are. And of course, that's vital. But that's missing something. If that's all we're doing, if we're only functioning as individual people and individual communities according to a religion, but without a view of what it means to be a nation, the Am Yisrael, then we're missing something. We were scattered across the globe without most of the elements, or almost any of the elements, that make a nation a nation. We lived in different places and spoke different languages. We had no army, no political structure, no independent economy, no national symbols to identify with and take pride in. And the secular Zionists, argued with Kook, were doing indispensable and holy, yes, Kook thought it was holy work, because they were moving the nation back towards its mission of functioning as a nation. Like Eliezer ben Yehuda, bringing back the language of the Jewish people. And the pioneers building up the land of the Jewish nation. They were bringing us back to functioning as a productive and healthy nation. Now, certainly the goal of this nation can only be accomplished through an existence that lives al pi Torah Yisrael. That's who we are. And this is why Rav Kook believed that every single Jew plays a critical role. We need both those who are building the nation and those who are leading that nation according to Torah Yisrael. The religious and the secular together. In that eulogy, Rav Kook referred to them as Mashiach ben Yosef, the secular, and Mashiach ben David, the spiritual, because together those elements will bring us back to a place of an Am Yisrael, Be'eretz Yisrael, and of course, al pi Torah Yisrael. And that's the only way we can live up to our mission to be a Mamlechet Kohanim Goy Kadosh, a nation of priests, a holy nation, to carry God's mission into the world. So, based on this, I think here's a more complete definition of what it means to be a religious Zionist. More than we love Israel, we like Aliyah, we think that's good. As religious Zionists, we seek to celebrate and participate in the national rebirth of Am Yisrael, Be'eretz Yisrael, al pi Torah Yisrael. We seek to celebrate and participate in. We can participate in the national rebirth that's taking place today. In our lives, we can participate. If that's what religious Zionism is, then I think we can start to understand how it can inspire everything that we do. And we can also see how it's more than just moving to Israel. And what I'm about to say might be apicorsis. Not AP courses. Perhaps we can also see how one can celebrate and participate in doing the national rebirth of Am Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael, Al Pi Torah Yisrael, without necessarily making Aliyah. Right? It might be possible. Now again, it would be missing something, but it certainly would be a meaningful way to celebrate and participate. So here are some examples. Chaim Weizmann, highly accomplished biochemist in several different countries in Europe. He eventually moves to pre-state Israel/Palestine, and he uses his skills and economic connections to advance scientific research in Israel. A lot of what is today the innovative startup nation is because of people like Chaim Weizmann pushing in that direction. He assisted in establishing Hebrew University. He helped convince President Harry Truman to recognize Israel when it declared itself a state 71 years ago. And he served as the first president of Medinat Israel. The incredible story of this man starts with a kid who worked really hard at science when he was growing up in Russia. He was participating in the national rebirth of the Jewish people from Russia. He didn't say, okay, I'm going to move to Israel, or what was then called Palestine. He said, okay, I'm here, now I'm done, I did it. Because that's not all that is needed for the national rebirth of the Jewish people. But don't worry, moving to Israel and becoming president are not the only way to contribute. An unbelievable story. I really didn't believe it until I saw it, Rabbi Lamb describing this himself. Rabbi Norman Lamb, who was president of Yeshiva University, the third president of Yeshiva University. Rabbi Lamb graduated a few years before. He graduated Yeshiva College with a degree in chemistry, another chemist, a few years before 1948. In 1948, Israel is fighting its war of independence. And it's struggling. It's struggling to fight the war. It has weapons, but it doesn't have enough munitions. And importing munitions, importing bullets, was impossibly expensive and took way too long. So Israel needed to figure out ways to develop munitions with the materials that they had in Israel, so that they didn't have to import it. Rabbi Lamb and some other young scientists in New York City get together, and they work with the Jewish Agency office in New York City, and they help research and figure out how to take materials that are available in Israel and turn them into munitions for a mortar called the Davidka, which helped Israel fight off its enemies and win the War of Independence. Rabbi Lamb never moved to Israel. But I think we would say that that was a way of participating in the national rebirth of the Jewish people. That's just one very dramatic, of course, example of how living in Chutz La'aretz is no excuse for not participating in this project. It's no excuse. And by the way, I think Tzahal is doing just fine these days without researchers from New York, but there are a lot of ways that we can help. The sky's the limit for ways that we can participate using skills in math and science. So a lot of times I think we think STEM is helpful if you want a good paying job, high paying job, but it's helpful if you want to be a Zionist. That's how it inspires things we do. That's how it inspires our science and our math classes, because we can use that to contribute. Humanities, let's see. Does a functioning society need people with critical thinking skills, with effective writing and communication skills, with understanding global historical context, understanding law, with understanding the great ideas of literature? All those can be marshaled towards participating in this national story of rebirth and revival. For us, humanities is not just about getting higher ACT scores or getting into a better college. It's about contributing to the rebirth of our own. Sometimes I've been asked why we say Tav and not Sav when we speak Hebrew. Like why we say Shabbat and not Shabbos. So I don't think this is simply an attempt to identify with Israel or to give our school a little more of an Israeli flavor. I think when schools and communities make the choice to speak that way, as opposed to the classic European Ashkenazi way that many of our grandparents had spoken and generations before that had been speaking for many years. We're choosing to participate in the revival of the Jewish people's national language. A real functioning nation has its own language. Yiddish, that's not our national language. Hebrew is our national language. Our Ivrit classes are not just so that when you go on vacation to Israel, you can have a conversation with a cab driver. We're participating in the national rebirth. But of course, the national rebirth without Torah lacks our true purpose. If we've returned just to have a country like the English have England and the French have France, then what's it all about? What's it all for? I would dare to say that if that were the case, I don't think it was worth all the suffering that we've been through for all those years and all the sacrifices that we make today and we spend talking about on Yom HaZikaron. But to participate in, to contribute to the national rebirth of Am Yisrael, the Eretz Yisrael, Al Pi Torah Yisrael, then you have to know Torah Yisrael. You have to live Torah Yisrael. We have to learn it every day. We have to make it part of our being, of who we are. When you're learning our Hilchot Kriyat Shema, or an ox goring another ox, is that inspired by religious Zionism? So it depends. If our learning enables us to participate, or at least understand, a national conversation about what it means to build our state, to build our national rebirth according to Torah Yisrael, then you better believe it is. You better believe that that's inspired by Zionism. When I say Hallel on Yom HaAtzmaut, I get very emotional. Towards the end, I often find myself wrapping myself in my talis and crying a little bit. The celebration of what we celebrated yesterday means a lot more to me because I know Jewish history a little bit. Because I've had the zechut to teach Jewish history. History enables us to appreciate the almost impossible story of the national revival of the Jewish people that has taken place in our parents' lifetimes and even is continuing in our lifetimes. To bring a non-functioning nation to become the startup nation, to be one of the most powerful militaries in the world, you can't really celebrate. You can't really appreciate the significance of what all this means if you don't know history. If you don't understand the history of the Jewish people, then what are you celebrating? You don't really know. Yesterday, when we were walking down Brainerd on our Yom HaAtzmaut parade, and I had the opportunity to be backwards the whole time, yelling at kids from Schechter to stop running under the truck. And Agnon too, or Mandel. And also Rabbi Pollack's sons. And Rabbi Fenton. Yes. Himself. I looked all the way down. We're on Brainerd towards the end, and I looked all the way down to see the end of the parade. And I couldn't see the end because we were still coming down Shaker. An entire horde of Kachol v'Lavan dancing and singing Ivri Anochi, I'm a Hebrew and I fear Hashem. The image struck me because of the way it contrasts with Yechezkel, Perek Lamed Zayin. Hashem takes Yechezkel to this valley, and he sees it filled with an endless pile of dry bones, corpses. For us, that image strikes close to home. Last week, we commemorated Yom HaShoah. We saw images very much like what I imagine Yechezkel saw. But Hashem tells Yechezkel, these bones, they won't stay dry and lifeless. These bones will live again. I will put flesh on these bones. I will breathe life into these bodies. I will replace the lathe ha'even, the dead and cold heart of stone, with a lathe basar, with a living, beating heart of flesh. I will bring them home to their land, and they will once again live as a nation. 2,500 years ago. 2,500 years ago, the Ribono Shel Olam told Yechezkel that the nation of the Jewish people will come back to life. It will function once again as an Am. It won't stay like that. It won't stay dead and lifeless. Thousands upon thousands of Jews who may have little in Judaism to connect with, to get excited about Medinat Yisrael. Just think about our parade yesterday. How many more Jews would have been lost to assimilation and intermarriage if not for Israel? New life is being breathed into our nation in front of our eyes, into spiritually dry bones. We can see the Tanakh come to life before our eyes, but if you don't know Tanakh, then you can't appreciate that. You can't really celebrate what we have today if you don't learn Tanakh. We need to know Tanakh. To be a Zionist means to understand what all of this means. But how can we really participate in this national revival? It's unlikely that any of us are going to go to Israel and build an iron dome or become the next chief rabbi. I'm not saying it's impossible, but unlikely. So what can we do? What can we do? A few suggestions. On a basic level, it's just knowing what's going on in Israel. There are so many opportunities in English to follow what's going on in Israel. There are multiple apps. YouTube, there are all kinds of videos that show short clips of the news of what's going on in Israel every day. Just knowing what's going on is a small way of participating. A soldier in my group the other day that came through the Federation, Chaim, he told us that knowing that we follow what's going on in Israel makes a huge difference to him. He had no idea that American Jews cared. And the fact that we care, that means something to him. Because we see ourselves as part of the same nation. Supporting soldiers, like Chaim, with letters, with little packages. He told us it's the small things that make a big difference. He said you don't need to build a basketball court in an army base. Just send us a mishloach manot, a letter that says you care. That's a huge way of giving chizuk, of supporting our soldiers. Advocacy, lobbying for Israel. Israel needs strong supporters here too. It's not aliyah or bust. It's not aliyah or you can't participate. We have to participate, whether we move there or we stay here. Visiting is also a small way to participate. And when you're older, you can educate people at work and in graduate school, in undergrad. Obviously, we're all going to go to Yeshiva University or college in Israel. But even in YU, let's say you have kids that didn't have the opportunity to have an education like you had in Israel. You can educate them too. Or for some people, maybe YU is the best place, you can go there and you can advocate on your college campuses. Making aliyah is an obvious one, of course, but for those of us who don't get to participate in that way, if we live with the mentality of Yehuda Halevi, who said, Libi b'mizrach, my heart is in the east, va'ani b'sof ma'arav, but I'm at the edge of the west, we can appreciate, we can still celebrate and participate. Chazal tell us, coming to the end, Chazal tell us that at the end of our lives, we're going to be asked a number of questions about how we lived. Were you koveh eating l'torah? Did you set time for learning? Were you honest in business? I think in our generation, there's going to be a specific question that's asked. I think we're going to be asked the following. You lived during an incredible time of history. During the miraculous rebirth of the Jewish people in its own land. What did you do to contribute to the national rebirth of Am Yisrael, the Eretz Yisrael, Al Pi Torah Yisrael? What are we doing? What is your contribution to this incredible national